They are one of the most recognizable parts of construction on Texas highways. Portable concrete barriers, or PCBs, are designed to protect workers and drivers in construction zones. Damage to PCBs can shorten their life expectancy. Cracks and chipping can occur when struck by a vehicle, but can also happen while being stored or in transit to a location. Defining the service life of PCBs is important to reducing the risk of unsafe barriers in use. The Texas Department of Transportation and the Texas A&M Transportation Institute are working to develop best practices for the management of repairing or replacing PCB segments.
The problem with the concrete barrier is that up to the point of this research, there were no really federal guidelines that would suggest or state guidelines for Texas that would suggest what is the service life for these barriers.
So what this project does, it will help the districts and the maintenance crews determine when a particular concrete traffic barrier is acceptable after use or after impact, or whether it can be repaired, or whether it needs to be discarded.
So we went and reviewed the existing literature, we looked at the state practices from other DOTs, but that wasn't enough. We wanted to specifically look at the barriers that TxDOT is using, the portable concrete barrier segments that TxDOT is using, and we wanted to make sure of these existing literature, the state of practice from other states, but complementing them with the component testing, computer simulations to predict behaviors, and the full-scale crash testing, barriers that we identified that would help us making a decision with these guidelines.
We determine our critical type of connection between the precast barriers and what type of deformation we thought would be acceptable within that particular connection type. That was probably one of the more critical aspects of this.
The nice thing is that we do conduct a lot of testing with portable concrete barriers, different type of barriers, but portable concrete barriers. So we have experience from that perspective. We were able to go and review all the crash testing that we conducted, understanding what were the damage modes, number one, and what were the type of damage mode that, the characteristics that we identified in testing. We also look at locations that we could visit to review these portable concrete barrier segments as they actually were used on the roadways. And we use all that information when we finally make our decision on how to proceed with the testing.
The results of this research will be incorporated into guidance for the maintenance districts and the 25 districts around the state. So the districts now have a much better idea and guidelines as to, okay, what do I need to do to make sure this barrier is safe to put out on the Texas roadways?
The results of this project is actually a visual guideline that we developed. This visual guideline is supposed to support the engineer in charge to make a decision whether the barrier segments needs to be replaced, needs to be repaired, or are still fine for use, which is going to be hopefully make it easier to the engineer in charge to make that determination.
For more information and to find the publications for this project, please visit the TxDOT Research Library at the link shown below.